Hey y'all, I'm up here painting Gloria the Goose, and she is the first, well, they're all going to be Gloria, but we're going to have a set of Gloria in a lot of different seasons, doing a lot of different things, because, you know, geese are all the rage now, and not everybody has room for a desk goose or porch goose, but anybody can paint Gloria and put her wherever you want to. You don't even need a frame. So I just wanted to do, this one is called the Spring Gloria, but she would do nicely for summertime too. We've also got a fall Gloria, a winter Gloria, and a summer Gloria that are going to be a part of my new freebie package for anybody who signs up for my weekly newsletter. And then I also have a 4th of July Gloria, a bathtub Gloria, and we're going to be working on several others too, but that's kind of where we are right now. But Gloria is a cutie, and I think she's going to be really fun to paint. She was extremely easy to trace, and that helps because a lot of times if I put so much time into the tracer that I'm kind of already tired by the time I start the painting, that's no fun. So I've started her with a 1-inch wash brush, but to get into some of these smaller areas, I've dropped back to the, this is probably about a 1/4 inch brush here that I'm using right now. And I'll just alternate back and forth between the two so that I can get down in the little areas. I think what I'm going to have to do though, like for the lines in her bow and things that I'm going to be covering up, I could come in and freehand those in the end, but I think instead I'm going to trace those out with a Sharpie just so I'll be able to see those lines. I'm going to go ahead and do some of that while I'm thinking about it, if I can locate a Sharpie. That is the problem. I should have been prepared before I started, but anyway, that's just how I roll sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to turn Gloria to the side. So this paint is still a little bit wet. I probably need to be careful not to mess up my Sharpie, because if you get wet paint on a Sharpie, they're usually ruined. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to trace around the whole bow and just put these little accent lines in there. That just represents the creases of the bow. I'm also going to trace around her beads because we're going to be painting Gloria's body white. And I'm not, I don't know, following the exact outlines. I think on some of these I just want to follow the general direction of the beads because I like the quirky little way they're going over to the side. But sometimes the designer gets a little off kilter with a tracer and you just have to improvise a little bit. And in this case, the designer was me. So I will take every bit of the credit or blame or whatever for that. But you can make it work because you're painting over all that anyway. So anyway, I just wanted to get her little beads going over to the side. And I'll go ahead and go over her little eyes and everything too while we're at it. She's a sweet girl. And I am going to get this side of the bow. I'm just giving that paint a few more minutes to dry. So, I just wanted to go ahead and trace what I could so I wouldn't forget. But anyhow, Gloria is going to have all kinds of different costumes over the next few months. I really cannot wait to introduce her in her 4th of July. I don't know if you would call it an outfit, because she's basically just in her little 4th of July inner tube. I may not be able to wait to show that. I may have to just show the digitized little prototypes that I've done. I don't know. I don't usually like to show something until I've had a chance to paint it myself, because I don't want to put something out there that's going to be a pain to paint. So I normally like to give it a trial run. I think I am going to have to drop back to one of these little bitty round brushes just to get in all the little nooks and crannies around the butterfly. Probably should have traced that out with a Sharpie too. And I may on these others. You know what? I am, because that's hard to get around without getting all the lines. So, and you know, when you're using a tracer, it's fine to use little tricks like tracing over with a Sharpie if you want to. Whatever makes it easier for you. You don't even have to use the brushes or the brush size that I'm using, because everybody's different, and what feels comfortable for me may not be the thing that you prefer to paint with, and that's okay. We're all different, and this is supposed to be a good, pleasant experience for you, and if the brush that you're using is stressing you out, then it's not going to be, and we don't want that. We want you to have a good time. So I'm all about finding easy ways to do things, and I guess that's really how I got started with paint tracers in the first place, because I do like to draw and I like to paint, but sometimes I really struggle with things like proportion, and a tracer helps you do that. And you're probably thinking, well, how do you draw them in the first place if you struggle with proportion? Well, I cheat. That's how I do it. I just cheat. I get it on my Procreate app, and I just cheat like crazy. I put it in there, and I just use the eraser as much as I need to. Sometimes I even use, there's a feature on the Procreate app that I believe it's called symmetry, and it, like, if you're drawing a half of something, it draws the other half and puts it all into proportion. So yeah, that's how that works. And I do love my little Procreate app. I don't know what in the world I would do without it. But that's how I do most of my tracers. Sometimes I'll get out my little sketch pad and do some florals with actual pencil and paper. But that's a little more complicated, because then I have to scan it and do all these extra steps. And with the Procreate app, I can just pretty much just draw it and save it to Dropbox, and then I'm all set. And some of my tracers, or really a lot of them, begin with clip art that I did not even draw. It comes from a subscription that I'm in, because I'm also a t-shirt designer, and I became a part of this subscription to be able to get images for my t-shirt designs. And I'm getting paint all over myself, but it's all good. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I subscribed to that clip art membership to get things to help me design my t-shirts, and then I realized that, you know, there's almost no difference in designing a t-shirt and a paint tracer. You know, it's most of that is just about getting your placement looking good and making sure your elements are placed in the most attractive way, I guess you could say. So I think that's maybe dry enough to finish tracing over that bow now. I almost got this old girl too big. She's just about hanging over the edge of the canvas. And, you know, it wouldn't be terrible if she did, because I think sometimes things are cute if just a little edge is hanging over. But I think we can get all of her bow there now. And let's just go down the side of her little face. Oh, that paint is still a little bit wet, but maybe I haven't ruined my... Hopefully I haven't ruined my Sharpie. I might have. Just run it over my paper a little bit and maybe I can get it back. Yeah, Sharpie and wet paint is not a good combination. But anyway, we are not going to let that steal our sunshine. We're just going to go on about it. Now, to get around these little places, trying to stay in the frame, you know, you can just lay your brush down flat against that edge and pull out like that, and also lay that edge down and just pull down around the edges up on its side to get in the little places. And you might not even have to do that. You might, since we've traced it with a Sharpie, you might could even just go over those lines. But this Williamsburg blue is kind of dark, and I'm scared I'm going to lose those lines if I don't try to kind of stay off of them so that I can see the basic outline of the butterfly. So yeah, getting in these, between these little antennas and stuff can be tricky. So I do think this little round brush here is better for that. Sometimes I'm holding my breath when I'm going in the little places, so that's why I'm not talking. And y'all are probably thinking, I wish you wouldn't talk so much at all. You sounding like cornbread there, and I do. But anyway, so just get down in there. And I did, I think, mess up and get on that line a little bit, but not so bad that we can't find it again when the time comes. And if you want to go back over this Williamsburg blue with another coat, you can. I don't know that we will, just in the interest of time, but if the blotchiness bothers you at all, I don't really know that it's going to be extremely blotchy. And I don't always paint the edges of my canvases either, but for this, I decided I just think it's going to look a little more polished. This is a really actually easy painting. It didn't take me long at all to trace it. So I think it's going to be a fairly quick one to paint too, unless we just really get lost in the details, which sometimes I do. And I also have a really hard time staying in the frame sometimes. So I'm going to turn her again, so I'll make sure I'm not out in La La Land. And I am going to probably have to pick back up with my little round brush to get around her little beads. And I was going to make those beads pearls. I thought that would be cute, but with her being white, I want to do something that's going to give a little more contrast. So we're going to do her beads purple, I think. I was going to do them a darker purple, but I don't know, with this Williamsburg blue being as dark as it is, if that's going to be a good idea or not. Let's just keep going and see how it works out. Let me move these. That's part of the problem. I don't have enough room on this side. I've got my camera up on my little tripod thing here. Not tripod. What do you call that? Anyway, the little camera holder thing. So, I'm just gonna go down this edge. And get that done. And then we'll come in with this little round one back around the beads. And you don't have to take a lot of time to do that. Just do a little semicircle and we'll fix them when we actually paint the beads themselves. So that doesn't have to be something that you have to really take a lot of time on. And same thing on this side, just do a little swoop around each edge and get that all covered good. And just make sure you're letting that brush do its job. The brush should be working harder than you do. We're just making sure all the white places are filled in. That would have been really cute if I could figure out how to make those beads, but I mean pearls instead of beads. But I don't know if I can with Sister Friend being a white color. I'm still thinking about it. We may just have to go with a lighter purple. And this blue may not be as dark as I think once it's completely dry, but you know, it may be darker. Anywho. And another thing you can do, if you don't like having to take the time to go around all these little places, you can even just paint your canvas the background color before you ever even start the design. The only thing about that is, for that to really turn out good, you need to have time to let your background dry for a good long time before you put the tracer on it, because if it's not, it doesn't pick up those carbon lines as well as it would otherwise. Because, you know, to do these, all you do is take a piece of tracing paper, and I don't know if that's graphite, carbon, whatever, but you know, it's got ink on one side, and you lay that down, shiny side down, with your design on top, and you trace it onto your canvas or your door hanger or whatever it is that you're using. And if the paint is still wet, or even if it's just a little tacky, the ink, when you press down to trace that on, it just gets yucky, and you don't want to do that. So you can avoid having to go around all these little places, but if you do, just know that if you paint your background first, make sure that the paint is really, really dry, or it might look a little yucky when you get done tracing. I believe it is raining at my house. I was going to cut grass this afternoon, and I decided not to, and I am glad I didn't, because I would be out there trying to cut in the rain. I don't cut our grass because my husband likes to do that. He likes his way of doing things, but sometimes I cut across the road at my parents' house, and that's what I was going to do this afternoon, but it didn't work out, and I guess it's a good thing. All right. We're going to get to the good part, I promise. I know just doing the background is not that much fun to watch. And especially since I can't keep it in the frame. Okay. Let's get around this little butterfly here. We're getting there. It's just taking a little bit. Yeah, it's raining. I hear it. I like rain when I don't have to be out in it. I think of all the years that I worked at school and had car duty in the mornings and the afternoons and had to stand out there. And it wasn't so bad in the afternoons because, you know, you're about to go home. But getting wet first thing in the morning and just feeling kind of halfway soggy the rest of the day, that is no fun at all. So now, every time it's raining and I'm in the house, I'm like, thank you, Lord, that I don't have to do that anymore. That was probably my most, I know it sounds like a little thing, but having car duty was the thing I liked the least about being a school counselor. And at one time this has been years and years ago, I had lunchroom duty. And don't get me wrong, that's pretty bad too. But car duty is the worst because you're freezing in the winter, you're burning up in the summer, and anytime it rains, you're going to get wet. It does not matter how good of an umbrella you think you have. You're going to end up wet when you have car duty. Trying to get all the little friends out of their cars, because I was elementary, like kindergarten to the 4th grade, and trying to get them in without splashing through too many puddles, and trying to get them to take the most direct path to the building. I don't know how I got to talking about that other than it is raining here. And I just remembered before I started, I sat down and I wrote out some little roughed in instructions that I'll put with the tracer set, and I forgot to put what colors to paint the flowers, so we'll figure that out as we go. Anytime you buy one of my tracers, you get a set of, you'll get this video for one thing, and then you'll get a set of step-by-step written directions. And then you get like a supply list and the tracers in at least 2 sizes. I think for my goose sets, I'm gonna offer an 8x10 and an 11x14 that come in them, because those are really the 2 sizes that I tend to use the most. And if you need another size, message me or something, and I'll be glad to see what I can do. They're usually not too bad for me to have to resize, but I did some, I think last week, that never did work out right. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong, but it just turned into a mess. But usually I can resize something for you without it being a real big deal. Because I guess if people are going to use these for their desk goose or whatever, you might want a little bit smaller one. But now the 8x10 is a lot smaller than this, but somebody might want one that's even smaller, just depending on how you're planning on using it. Okay. I'm trying to think. I don't believe the bathtub goose is going to be in the free set, but y'all, she is so cute. She's in a clawfoot tub, and if I remember right, she's got her, well, I know she's a goose, but she has a hair towel on. And she's just super cute. I didn't even get all the way around that butterfly. Let me grab that Sharpie again. Okay. The one that I hopefully didn't ruin with my paint, but I'm afraid I may have. No, it's still marking pretty good. Okay. I love butterflies. I haven't seen a lot around here lately. I think I got a little out of line right there, but we'll fix it when we come in with our butterfly paint. Okay, does that look like I got everything traced right with the Sharpie? I hope so. Back in with this little round brush. I keep running out of paint, y'all. I don't know what's up with that. It's not really that hot up here, but I do have the ceiling fan running, so I guess that is probably what is drying out my paint. And sometimes when you trace, why am I painting inside that? That's the black for the antenna. But anyway, sometimes when you trace everything out with a Sharpie, it cuts way down on what all you have to outline too. And you don't have to outline things really, but they look a little more, I guess you could say, polished if you do. So, all right, let's go ahead and get the rest of this background done. This is the first time I had bought any of this Williamsburg blue, but I really do like that color, and I'm dying to make a door hanger with it. I love making wooden door hangers, and that's the other thing about my tracers. Anything you can put on a canvas, you can pretty much put on a door hanger too. Now sometimes there have been some that I had to modify the size just because of how it was laid out. But it's usually not that hard to do. I think that'll be covered up. But like last Christmas, I had one with like some snowy trees, and I did have to kind of redo it a little bit to accommodate the curve on a wood round, but it can be done, and most of them just fit perfect on the wood round anyway. Like this size would be good. It's an 11 by 14 canvas, but it would do good for like a like an 18-inch wood round. And that's the main size I do when I do wood round parties. But if you need another size, you know, we can do that too. Okay, what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and dry her just a little bit, because I'm going to end up getting paint all over myself and blotched. Sorry for this noise. And you can tell when it's dry because it stops being shiny. If you're using matte paint like this, once it's dry, that shiny kind of sheen goes away. And I don't think we are going to have another coat on this. I will probably just go back and maybe go over some places where the paint looks kind of thin. I'll just maybe go in and brush over that some, but I think she's going to be good like this. Okay, so again, I wrote down the directions that I'll type up later just to make sure they work before I get them to you. So second step says that we're going to paint our goose white with sand gray accents. So this sand gray is just a really pale gray. It's almost a white too. So I think it will be a good accent color if it shows up well enough. So I'm just rinsing these brushes so I can use them if I need them on the goose too. And we may mix it up outside some of the colors that I wrote in the directions, but I want to try those because I think they're going to be good. But we'll see. So, you would not technically, I guess, have to paint Gloria's body because the canvas is white. But I just think she's going to look a little more put together and polished. And we may even go in and give her some little pink cheeks. I think that would be cute. Just to spruce her up a little bit. Okay, I think those are rinsed enough. Alright, so I'm just going to get a plate that the paint is dry on to do. And I'm not going to put down any of the sand gray yet. And just do a little quick coat of white over Gloria's body here. And if you run over the black Sharpie, it's okay because it is going to show through this white. I just didn't know if it would show well enough through the blue or not. But it will through the white, I promise. I would not promise with very many colors because sometimes I cannot gauge it. I was painting something a couple of weeks ago that I would have bet anything that you would still be able to see your lines through it, and nope. I ended up having to really squint and strain, and it just didn't. It worked out okay in the end, but it was touch and go there for a minute. So, you know, you don't have to take a whole lot of pains with this. We're just slapping down some white. Uh-oh. I think I got into another color with that. Well, I don't know what that was about. It showed a little... Oh, I bet it was in my brush. Because it looked blue, and I bet I still had just a tad of that Williamsburg blue on my brush. Alright. So we're just gonna... I'm gonna grab this big brush again, and I'm just gonna paint straight over the beads and everything, because we're going to be able to see them plenty good enough, I think. And just turn it up on its edge to get around those curves. Well, we might have to go in and touch that up in a few minutes, but you're going to have little boo-boos. The good thing about it is, if your paint is still wet, you can usually wipe it with a baby wipe, unless there is something else around there that you don't want to disrupt. But if you can't wipe it with a baby wipe and get the boo-boo off, you can always come back once it's dry and paint over what you don't want. So we'll do some touch-ups in the end, and it'll be fine. That's why you don't have to be tense or overly concerned when you're painting, because you can fix most anything. But while she is still wet, I'm just going to go in with a touch of this color called Cactus Flower. and make her cheeks pink. We'll just give her a little bit of blush. And to do that, I'm just going to use another little narrow flat brush. And you might want to just like tap a lot of the paint off your brush, because we don't want to make her look overdone, but just like, we just want to blend in some little bits of pink for her cheeks, because she's a cute girl. And we don't want her to look too washed out. And just twist that, put the brush down and then just twist to make that little circle for her cheeks. And that way it'll be kind of uniform on each side. And this is something optional. You don't have to give her any blush, but you can if you want to. And then again, while it's still wet, we're going to just take a little bit of this sand gray and add just a couple of shadows with this brush that's still wet from the white. It's not going to hurt anything to use that same brush, and we're just going to kind of knock some of the paint off of it after we've already got that done. And I'm just going to come down her side some here and just give a little twist with my brush to give her a little highlight on one side. And I'm going to do that same thing up here at the top of her head and her face. And again, knocking off some of that and coming down this side, doing the same thing. We just don't want her to look too flat. We want her to have a little bit of shading to give her some 3D kind of dimension. And then we'll do another little shadow here along the bottom. And see how, I don't know if you can tell, but that white that we left on the brush is still just kind of, it's helping it to give it a good little blended look, I think. So, and we may end up coming in with some more little shadows, but for now, I think that looks good on Miss Gloria. So we'll do another brush rinse, and then we're gonna paint the bill, the legs, and the feet in this spiced pumpkin color. Now, I said bill, but I know it's a duck bill. Do you call a goose's beak thing a bill too? I'm not sure about that. I need to look that up. But anyway, just a quick brush rinse on these. Might not have had to, the one that had that pink, because that, well, I don't know what that was. I dropped something in the floor. Oh well. I guess it'll turn up. Okay, so spiced pumpkin, that's that color. And all these are Deco Art Americana. Sometimes I do use other things like Apple Barrel, and they work fine. But my most favorite kind of paint, just because it does have really good coverage and everything, is the Deco Art Americana. So I'm going to do her feet first, because her beak or bill or whatever is still going to have white paint that's not dry on there. So, and I know I'm going over these black lines, but again, we can always touch up later. What I'll probably do is take a little very tiny little liner brush to go around some of these edges. And give a little more outline. So, just getting her little footsies here, her little, well, what do you call that? Anyway, her little feet. I have heard that geese can be mean, but Gloria here is a sweet girl. Unlike a duck that I used to know. Field legs and feet, spice pumpkin. There was something else that we wanted to do, spice pumpkin. Okay, it was the outer top portions of the butterfly. So, let's go ahead and do that. But back to the mean duck I used to know. This duck hated me. And I had never done anything to said duck. But, for some reason, it decided that I was public enemy number one or whatever. And if I would run, it would chase me. And I'm not talking about I was a kid either. I'm talking about I was a grown woman in my 20s running from this stupid, mean duck. And that was back in the 90s. And we still wore like pantyhose to church. And it seemed like that duck could sense that I was going somewhere and wanted to look nice, and it would come for me, and it has torn my hose before church. It was that mean. And I begged for something to be done about that mean duck, and nobody would take me seriously. And then one day, my daughter was very little, and the mean duck, I was getting her, I had gotten her out of the car seat. She was just toddling around, and I took her out and put her down on the ground while I got her bag and everything out of the back. And the duck attacked her and had her pinned down on the ground, pecking her. And that is when I said, it is either the duck or me. And I don't know if I said this before, but it was one of those quackless ducks. And mean, I'm telling you. So that's when the duck got pinned up. I really wanted a different fate than that for that duck because it was evil. But anyway, it didn't pick me or my baby girl anymore after that. But terrible, terrible duck. So I guess... And I had ducks growing up sometimes, but not like that. That duck, mean. But maybe that's why I seem to prefer geese to ducks now. Not really, I'm kidding, but that was a mean one. And Gloria the duck just wouldn't sound right. Doesn't have the same ring to it as Gloria the Goose. I'm glad geese have made a comeback. I used to love seeing people's porch geese, and I think that is coming back. I have a friend that I go to church with, and she has pigs that she decorates for each season and special occasions and all that. It's super cute. And the things she comes up with to put on those cement pigs is hilarious. So, let's see. I know the top portions, I think I've already messed up or didn't do what I had meant to do. But it's alright. They don't all have to be the same, do they? Well, since I did that one like that, let's just go ahead and do the rest of them that way. And I'll just change it on the directions. But really, you can do this part any way you want to anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I'm using a little liner brush to do this, just to get into those little parts a little bit better. I had meant to do it to where some of these were opposite of each other, but it'd be alright. And I don't know, though, about the purple. If it's going to need to be a lighter purple than I had initially thought, or if that dark bright is still going to be okay. We may just try the dark bright, and if it doesn't work, you know, we can always paint over it with a lighter shade. And my favorite shade of lighter purple is Perfect Perry. I use that for a whole lot. So let's go ahead. Well, what does it say do next? Orange. Okay, it says next we're gonna paint her her bow. And I had thought about Joyful Pink, but it's a dark pink. And my daddy told me here a couple weeks ago that he thinks a lot of my paintings look too dark. And I think he may not be wrong. So we're going to start with this cactus flower instead of the darker pink. And just see how this does. And if we think we need to darken it up, we can. But just kind of twist and pull as you go around these edges. If you go over some of the black lines, it's alright, because the touch-ups are going to get that. Just kind of try not to get a ridge of paint. That's why sometimes I start in the middle. For some things to I kind of like how that looks, going over the edge of the black with the black peeking through a little bit. We may not have to do quite as much touch up as I was afraid we would. It just really depends on what you like. You know, like right there, it's definitely going to have to be touched up, because I just obliterated that Sharpie line with the Williamsburg blue, and it is very dark. But there's not too many places like that that are just a have to touch up place, I don't think. Yeah, just twist and pull that down. And I think once we start getting the little pops of color all through, that is really going to make this painting, I believe. But I keep thinking about the other outfits and scenes that Gloria has, and I really cannot wait to show you. The bathtub one, the Christmas one is also very super cute. The fall, she has pumpkins around her, and the pumpkins have bows on them. So we're just gonna hopefully have a lot of fun with Gloria. And if I had somebody tell me the other day, you know, well, I've actually had a couple people tell me, you know, they really don't want to do the tracers at home on their own. They want to do a paint party with me. And if you're local to Calhoun County and the surrounding area, I am happy to do a paint party with you. I enjoy interacting with ladies at these parties. We usually have a lot of fun. And you don't have to be in Calhoun County necessarily. Excuse me. I'm willing to drive at least a little ways to a party, like, oh, that water bottle's loud, sorry. But last weekend I did one in another town that, it's probably about, ooh, that had orange on it. Oops, we'll just get it off. I could have used a baby wipe, but I think my finger will be sufficient right there. How did that have orange? I do not know. We're just going to rinse that brush to be sure it wasn't on there. But anyway, I drove probably about 30, 40 miles. Not that far. Maybe 30. Anyway, it took me about 45 minutes to get there to another town the other night to do my, we had a porch leaner party. So I don't only do canvases, I also do door hangers, and last weekend I did a porch leaner party. Now, we'll say that is the first one of those that I have done, and I do maybe have some little kinks to work out of it, just because it does take a little more space to do a porch leaner party than it does a door hanger or canvas party. And it worked out fine. It was great, but it was, you know, just a little bit more cramped than what you would be for something that you can just lay down on the table in front of you. And I have seen people, I say lay it down on the table, I have seen people that use little easels when they do their paint parties, but I haven't gotten into doing any of that yet. Okay, so while that bow is drying, I wonder, let's see, I think that beak is, I think that white is dry enough that I can go ahead and paint the orange on her beak, or bill, or whatever we decided that is. And then I'm going to try, though, to just keep a little bit of that black line showing where we initially outlined in Sharpie, so I can see it when I come back to do my outline. And I think that's going to make things maybe just a little bit easier, especially like where the upper and lower portions meet. But this one right here, tracers in general are perfect for any skill level of painter. You know, even if you don't have a bit of experience, even if you say you can't draw a stick figure, you can paint with a tracer. It is a lot like coloring in a coloring book, honestly. You can do it. You just need the right tools and the right everything you need. And that's the good thing about, you know, when you get the tracers from me, you do have all the instructions, all the supply lists, all everything, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure out, Okay, I want to have my friends over to paint. What do I need to have ready? Because I tell you, everything you need to buy. And, you know, with the tracer, you're not sitting there with a blank canvas trying to figure out what to paint. It's all laid out there for you. And that is why I love a tracer. And some of my stuff, I don't always draw off myself. Sometimes I use other people's tracers. And, you know, sometimes people think a tracer is going to be just like cookie cutter or whatever. And that's just not true. Let's go ahead and make our flower centers. Well, should they be orange? They could be orange, and if we don't like it, we could paint over them in black. I didn't put what color centers to have when I wrote down the directions, but we'll just do this and see if we like it. And if we don't, we will change it. Okay, so we will go ahead now and take some of this purple pizzazz, and I'm gonna, you know, though, I do want to do her eyes because she just kind of looks creepy right now. And I'm just gonna do them with a Posca paint pen. I don't know why that bothers me, but it does a little bit. Sometimes I like using these paint pens as opposed to a brush for things like this. Now, some things the brush does better. I usually like to do my outlines with a brush, but I think her eyes, I needed my little paint pen, but it's just a little Posca paint pen. You can get those on Amazon, and they just make life easier. Okay, so we'll turn it up again so you can see her right side up. This purple pizzazz is a really pretty, it's a dark purple, but it's a bright purple. And I think it's going to do good on here. So first, I think I'm going to paint the, the butterfly wings. Let me see if I can just rinse that. Yeah. Because I think that little round brush is the best for this. So, seems like I've just been going to that for a lot of things on this particular painting. But it is good for getting in little tight places. And I do think that bright purple pizzazz is going to do fine. I thought it might be too dark with the background, but I think it's going to work. And you can even add in some little dots and embellishments on your butterflies, and we can even do that with a Posca pen too. So, and if you're just getting started with acrylic painting, that might be a good investment to make. I always say, you know, choose wisely what you're going to buy, because painting shouldn't be expensive. I buy really cheap little brushes like these I'm working with now. Came in a multi-pack, and I use them for my paint parties, and I even gave some away the other night as part of my door prizes, because again, they're fairly inexpensive, and I want people to be able to get started with painting. But if you know you're ready to dive in and do a lot of things with painting, I would say the Posca pens. You can get them in a small pack that, you know, the main colors I use are the black and white. I only have a big pack of the colors because my daughter got me a pack for, I can't remember, my birthday or Christmas. And I do love them. And they do come in handy too. But if I was just wanting to try them, I would try just maybe one of the black and one of the white, because they last a really long time. And that black and white's going to be the ones that you most likely go to more often than anything. I first heard of those probably a couple of years ago when I was taking a painting class. I was doing a florals class, and the lady was talking a lot about using the Posca paint pens, and I was like, I gotta try that, and I was immediately hooked. They are so much fun to use. It's real soothing. It's almost like coloring on steroids. Like, it's great. Just real soothing. And that one is gonna have a little bit of touching up, but that's fine. We can do that. So now let me turn her back around so you can see, and we're gonna start on her little beads. And again, no great pains with this because we're gonna come around with some black. I wonder, well, I kind of wondered if I should have done the black first and just filled in, but we'll just do this and hope for the very best. They don't have to be perfect, just take them one way and then the other, like kind of like a C and then a backwards C. I think is a good way to do these. Just leaving enough space for a good outline in black. And you can take more time with these if you want to. I'm just kind of slapping it down because I know I've been on here a while, and I know sometimes people don't have the time or patience or attention span or whatever to watch something that just rocks on and on. But I did want to give a decent little tutorial to go for my video that goes along with the tracer. Like what I'll do, like if in the packet where you purchase tracers, I've just got a PDF with a link to my videos or to the particular video that goes with the tracer, so that you don't have to be running around trying to find it on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube and it's public. Ooh, hear that? Thunder. Anyway, it'll be on YouTube, but you shouldn't be having to scramble to find the link. So I'm going to have that link right there for you. Along with the instructions and the tracers. And hang on just a minute. Hey. Okay, I'm doing a Facebook Live. That's okay, love you. Excuse me, my husband's home from work. He was just letting me know he's here. I'm upstairs painting. Yeah, I think this purple is going to show up against that blue. Okay, you think so? I think so. All right, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and paint the flowers while I've got that pink out. I think some pink would be good for that big flower right there. So this is again that cactus flower color, and we're just gonna go over the lines and touch them up later. Just for right now, just get that cactus flower color down, and then we'll get in our little accents. And this little piece up here is a part of that same flower, so make sure you get that painted in the cactus flower pink too. Alright, you know, I didn't even put any anything in the directions about the leaf color either. Let me try that real quick because I think that needs another coat. So I've gotten a little bit out of order for how the instructions read because for some reason I didn't write anything at all down about a flower color or flower colors, but I am gonna add that in on the directions. So, you know, I don't always get everything exactly in order, but I try to. Because I don't want you to have to be trying to figure out a lot of anything. I want it to just be kind of laid out for you. So I think I'm just going to use either, I'm trying to think. I don't want it to go into so many colors on these flowers, but I think a good green for them might be this. I haven't used this one before, but that sea glass is really pretty. Let's try that and see what that looks like for the leaves. That's a brighter green that's maybe going to perk it up a little bit. And I usually use my weeding tool that I use for vinyl because I almost never use vinyl anymore. I usually use that to open these paint bottles, but I don't know what I've done with it at the moment. So, I'm just going to take this little brush and, oh, I like it. That's a pretty, almost a mint green, but just a pretty light shade of green. I think that's cute. And your black accent line on the leaf should show through, so don't worry about painting over that. And so for the flowers, I think maybe let's go with we could do one in like a yeah, I really should have thought this out, but let's go with one of them being this joyful pink. Since we didn't do that on her bow, I think it would be really good for, why am I unscrewing the top? Probably because this one's about empty, but I have another one if this won't come out. I think that'll be enough. So, oh yeah, I'm digging the joyful pink on that. And to get those edges, just lay it down and twist. Just, like this, like go kind of backwards. Just once you found that edge, you can just twist along. Well, I didn't really get too close enough on that. But anyway, just use the edge of your brush so that you don't have to concentrate so hard on staying in your lines. And we may just do both of these, joyful pink, and then with the accents, it'll still have some pop to it, because the shape of it, it does look like the same type of flower. Or should I use some of that perfect Perry I was telling you about? It is a pretty color. Let me see if I've got any of that just right on hand. Is that it? No. I think that's it, but I think it's too close to the background color. So, I think I'm just going to do them both this joyful pink. And then we can highlight with something else to make it, to give it a little more pop, I guess. That thunder is just rolling out there. I did not even know it was supposed to rain today. I don't usually watch any weather or news or anything, though. I just take each day as it comes, and if I've got something going on, I might check my weather out, but I don't usually even do that, honestly. I did when I was working, just mostly on account of, like I was talking about before, the dreaded car rider line. So, to kind of give them a little bit of shading while that is still wet, I'm going to go in with just a tad of white. And, you know, this is optional, but I like to just dip one corner of my brush in the white and the other in the color that I was already using, and get some of it off on my plate, and then just kind of do some little accents just by twisting the brush. And if you get more of one color on there than you wanted, you can always, like if you got too much white, come back with some more pink, and just whatever you think it needs. just come up and twist, and then you'll need to re-dip every couple of passes, because it's going to get blended in together a little bit if you don't. And then you can even come down with kind of another little row of that, or whatever you want to call it if you want to. Just to kind of make your petals pop a little bit. Another tier of that, I guess, would have been a better way to say it. It's not really a row, is it? And I am going to have to touch up some on that. Okay, so for the, somehow I got some of that desert cactus on my background too. But while that's kind of drying, let's take the Posca pen and fill in our butterfly antennas and bodies. And I could do this with a liner brush, but I think in this case it's just going to be a lot easier to do with the paint pen. And the one over here, I'm thinking though I may go back in with some white to kind of outline around these two to just make them pop a little bit better. But for now, I'm going to outline back with some black. Just because I did mess up some of the places when I came in with the colors. We may not need the white after all. We'll see. Might just use white for some dots or something. Okay. All right, while we're doing, I'll just go ahead and go around her bow with this. We may not have to have the liner brush for any of this after all. This paint pen seems to be working pretty good on Miss Gloria. And it's definitely easier to hold steady to me than the brush. That is the perk of the Posca pen. The perk of using the brush, I think, is that you can it's a little easier to go lighter and darker in as you want to, I think. Like pressure sensitive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The brush is a lot more pressure sensitive because this tip is, you know, pretty big, and it's not going to be as responsive to pressure. Let's see. I think this side's dry enough. Let's just go ahead and outline Gloria all the way with the paint pen. I think that's going to work fine. And then we'll go in and do her beads. We're getting pretty close to being done with her. Pretty close. And if you don't get, like, I'm leaving a little bit of white right there. I didn't really do it on purpose to begin with, but I'm liking it because it looks like a little accent. So, hey, a little highlight, never hurt anything. Helps your painting to not look flat. So, I think yes. And I'm not getting that effect around every single one of them, but enough that it kind of helps with the shading. Okay, so her beads are done. Let me see. Let's go ahead and do the leaves and the flower outlines. See how easy it is to it just kind of glides on with this Posca pen. And then we'll just still need to do some accents in that flower, but the other one's gonna be just about done, I think. Oh, and I didn't go around her legs and feet, did I? Okay, so now just a little bit of white. Let's get our white Posca. And it's just the exact same thing as the black. And to get these going, you just kind of tap the end of them till your paint's coming out. And we'll just do these little... whatever you want to call that, that's giving the flower some extra delineation or dimension or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure though. I think maybe that should have been darker, the little hoopty-hoos, so I might go in with some orange. I'm not sure. I think yes. But you can use any color you want to. You could even use black in there. And I don't think even the black would be too harsh. You know what? Instead of the orange, I'm going to go in with purple. I think that might be okay too. And I'm just using this little fine liner brush. And the Posca the Posca paint pen dries really quick, so you don't have to be concerned with anything bleeding into anything with that. I am gonna just do, I know we highlighted with some white a little bit, but I'm gonna just take this and just do a few more little places to just kind of brighten it up a little bit. And then I'm also gonna go in on the butterflies, and I think I'm gonna outline the body in white and just do a couple little dots on the wings just to brighten. I don't think I like the outlined body. I think I'm gonna repaint that black. That's okay, because we are almost done with our Goosey girl. Just a couple little random dots, and oh, I know what we need to do. We need to do the little things for the webs of her feet too. So let me think how that would look. Let me pull the tracer. Sometimes I have to look back at the tracer and see what that actually looks like. So it's just like, and then just real simple for that. And so then I'm just gonna come on up here and I did outline that one all the way, but I didn't that one, did I? Okay. And I'm just going to do the body back black because I don't like that with the white on it. I don't know. I thought I would, but I don't. So that's just going to be a little thicker butterfly. It's all right. Takes all kind of butterflies too. And then we'll just come down and around this one because apparently I missed it when we were outlining. And let's see, what are we missing? Maybe a little bit of shading on her bow and her beak, I think. So we're just going to come down one side of the beak like that, around her little lower beak, and a little bit up like that. And then a little shading on her legs. And maybe just a tad in the center of her bow. And let me see, how about just a little bit on a couple of these beads that got missed. I think that's going to be good enough, y'all. I think she's about done. And if you need to go in and touch up the background a little bit or whatever, after you get to that point, you can, but there she is. What do you think about Gloria? I think I like her. But thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time.